Hey, so I'm honored to have a very, very special guest here for this episode of 5 Minutes. I'm joined by a candidate for Insurance Commissioner of Oklahoma, Chris Merideth. We're going to sit down and have a conversation to understand exactly what it is that he's going to bring to the table that's going to change the entire insurance dynamic here in Oklahoma. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Welcome to 5 Minutes, your quick dive into the wide-ranging world of insurance, technology, and leadership. I'm Miguel Edwards, and I'll be your guide as we explore these topics that are transforming not just the insurance industry, but the business world at large. Along with sharing observations I've made over the span of my career in insurance, technology, and operations, I'll be chatting with some of the brightest minds in business and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned executive or a rising star, an industry expert, or just curious about how technology is revolutionizing insurance, this is your perfect spot for your weekly dose of insights. This is 5 Minutes.
Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to be with me, man. I appreciate
thanks,
it.
I'm glad to be here.
That's awesome. So, it's not often that I actually get to record with somebody in their home state. We're here in Oklahoma, and it's fantastic.
Yes, thanks for coming out. I'm glad you could be here. We just had the Thunder Parade, so I'm still pumped up about it.
I hear you, man. I watched it on TV, and it was quite an event. That was fantastic. So, real purpose of this conversation, Chris, is you've made an interesting decision in your career to go into public service, and would love to hear a little bit about what kind of got you on that decision path. And then obviously we're going to want to dig right into your platform and kind of why you think you're going to make this difference in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those deals. I'm not a politician. I'm a business-minded guy that likes to solve problems. Mm-hmm. And the last 10 years I've spent in the industry working in government affairs, working with the legislators, the regulators on issues. And even before that, when I had just started in insurance, I started as an adjuster. And I immediately saw a principle that I planned to put into place here, which is we were doing our jobs. I'm just helping customers on the phone, and I would constantly run into problems where I couldn't help them because of a law. And at the time, we had a program called What Do You Want It to Be? And the idea was, if you have a problem in your day job, what would you want it to look like?
Right.
If you could just do whatever you wanted to do, if you could just change it. And so I had a problem with the customer. I was trying to send her some paperwork and get it back, and it required her to have a notary. And she had just totaled her car. She was a single mom. She didn't have any other cars. And she would ask me, how am I supposed to get a notarized signature when I can't even drive anywhere?
Right.
And I just thought, it's just not smart.
Right.
We have email, we have all this stuff, but she has to go get a notary for this so I can pay her. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't make sense. So I asked, I said, what I would like it to be is to be able to email her this, she email it back, and then I put her money in her bank account electronically.
Right.
Same day,
Right.
all this same day. I don't want to wait on the mail.
Right.
And, we went about changing the law to do that. Fantastic. So fast forward to now, my career progressed, and we continued to do those types of things. I was the business person. Mm-hmm. That would go before legislators and tell them what we're trying to do across the country, with the help of our government affairs team, who would get us the access in, and say, hey, I'm bringing this person in to change the law, to tell you about it. And just fast forward, the job happened to open here in my home state, and I said, I want to do that full time.
Sure.
This is what I want to do. I want to make things better, for the industry, for our customers. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I've done for the last 10 years. And then now it's become just kind of going to the other side of the table, again, just switching seats of reining in a system that I fear is in crisis.
Chris, you mentioned your career before this decision. I'm curious as to what your experience being in industry tells you about how you would want to regulate. Because I'm thinking about my own experience with regulators, and it kind of depends on who you're working with. How did that experience inform how you would approach being a regulator?
Yeah, it's multi-pronged, right? My experience is they need to understand the problem from the front lines. So as a regulator, as a legislator, they're making a lot of decisions. They're on different laws across a variety of issues. And I've learned from being in that they need people to come and educate them on specific issues. Especially the average person barely knows their insurance policy.
Right.
and then you're a regulator or an insurance legislator trying to make law on a subject that, you know, these are just normal people. They're not like special status, that they need to be educated on the issues as well. So it required me to understand that, you know, it was just really about us providing perspective as an industry. And then they would get perspective from other places too. If there was someone, you know, on the other side of the issue, or, you know, they're worried about their constituents, they're worried about who, you know, the consumer, more focused on that, so they can take that side. And then the key is that they get all the information and they can make the best decision for their constituents.
Right.
And that you know, that's a big piece of this puzzle, if I could bring it into this position.
No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, it's funny, in preparation for this discussion, I was kind of looking up some things about the Oklahoma insurance market. I live in Florida, Chris, and I'm going to stop crying and complaining about my homeowners insurance, because until I did this research, I did not realize that Oklahoma has the highest homeowner insurance rates in the country.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. We've seen insurance prices skyrocket and coverage get pulled back. And a lot of it has to do with the weather. Florida has similar weather issues. We have, but you know, with Oklahoma, we have every single thing you can think of.
Right.
I mean, and people don't usually think about earthquakes in Oklahoma, but we have them.
Right.
We have tornadoes. We have wind. We have the hail. We have ice.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here on days when it was 80 degrees, and then a few hours later it was 10. I mean, it was just, the weather here is really a challenge,
Right.
And you have to deal with it. So and that's where, you know, this comes in. We've got to change the way we do things.
So what is the solve? What do you think is the solve?
Well, we've got really two areas we've got to work on, and the first one is we got to reduce cost. Any unnecessary cost in the system, we got to go tackle it.
Right.
And the second one is reduce risk, which is, you know, perceived future cost, and that's going to be, you know, on our weather. So specifically on home, you know, that is building a different home.
Right.
We've got to build to the risk that we have. We have a threat, some of the severest weather in the nation, so we have to have the most resilient buildings. Is
Right.
what we have to do. We have to stop building homes that I call them disposable roofs, that just, you come in, slap on a new roof every 5 years. You know, that's just not, it's not sustainable
Right.
with the inflation and the costs, you know, economically. So we've got to start building our homes better,
Right.
with the fortified roofing that's shown over decades that this is the way to do it. And, you know, we're on the right track.
Okay.
It's my problem with, I helped with the first law where we put in a discount program for fortified homes. This was 8 years ago, I think, 6 to 8 years ago. And then we just started the grant program that similar to Alabama's. That was passed, and we just started this year. My problem is it's taken, I don't know, 8 years to get all this done. And in the meantime, Alabama's gone 10 years and has 70,000 fortified homes.
Right.
And we've, you know, I don't know how many, you know, single digits probably.
Right.
And so we're on the right track. We just need to fast forward. We need
Yeah.
to put it on warp speed, because things are developing in the market that's obviously there's something wrong.
Right.
And we've got to address it, and we've got to hurry up.
Would you advocate incentives for the homeowners in terms of actually, you know, going after some of those building code changes, or actually adopting those building code changes?
Yeah,
Making
absolutely.
those-
I mean, I'd be for looking at, you know, part of me wants to do a statewide building code.
Okay.
And part of me does it because you've got some areas need really focused on the hail piece.
Right.
Some of them need fire, more of a wildfire type of mitigation. So, it's kind of I haven't decided on which way to go with it, but we need to really have those conversations with the builders and the realtors and those types of people to understand that to save the market, I mean, you're not going to be able to build a home or buy a home if you can't get insurance.
That's right.
And you're not going to be able to get a mortgage if you don't have insurance. And where we're headed right now, the trend is no replacement costs,
Right.
all ACV.
That's right.
The lenders hate it. You're going to have high deductibles. They're not fond of that either. And so we've got to tackle the problem and get really serious about it. And it's going to require, you asked me a little bit about what I saw in my other roles. Collaboration is key.
Yeah.
This isn't, when you're in politics and campaigning, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm here to fight for you," and fight. It's not a fight. I took that to heart recently. I just kind of had a mind shift where this is not a fight. This is about bringing people together,
Collaboration, yeah.
collaborating with best practices, and then going with focused unity and asking the legislature to get things done. And it's not just legislature. There's lots of funding opportunities out here privately. I know the Federal Reserve Home Loan Bank in Dallas is working in funding fortified homes. We can do that here.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things we can do, tax incentives, tax credits, to really put this thing on overdrive. It's just a matter of getting focused effort in front of people and letting them know this is what we need, as a state, all the citizens, telling the legislature this needs to be focused on.
Right.
And, they have a lot of things on their plate, and, it's just going to require us to ask for that to be done.
Now talk to me about tort. Again, that's another big problem we've got in Florida, and we've made a lot of progress with tort reform. We've gotten rid of one-way attorney fees and things like that.
Yes.
And what is the other one? Third-party assignment was an interesting one that we had to get rid of. Is similar dynamic here in Oklahoma? Is it kind of similar where we really need to take a look at that?
Absolutely. Litigation reform is going to be very important.
Okay.
And we've taken some good steps forward with it. I worked on a lot of litigation tort reform years ago, but the Supreme Court overturned a lot of our work with the state chamber. So, but this last session, we passed some, assignment of benefits changes and other litigation reform, but there's still a ton out there to work on.
Yeah.
And that is a problem for Oklahoma is up there with, litigation cost is a big problem. So it's, you get the weather and you get the litigation, that's why you have high home prices,
Exactly.
That are maybe outstripping different than other states.
What do you have in mind, Chris, in terms of drawing? There's the obvious things, right? Where if the weather situation, if the litigation thing is solved, but is there anything else in the market that has to be done to draw more carriers into the state to create that competition that would put pressure on pricing?
Yeah, I do think there's an opportunity there. There's a lot of I hear all these I hear different ideas. On different types of policies and things like that. I just keep thinking, it's like maybe there's, why isn't it happening? Why isn't more innovation happening around that? And I think there is some opportunity to create more of like a sandbox idea here where carriers or new insurance companies can come in, try something without the fear of being just, torn apart by the regulatory system.
Sure.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm kind of exploring that, but I think there's an opportunity to create that environment where we've got more innovation and come up with some new stuff, new things that to address our market specifically.
There's definitely some states I think having a lot of success with that. They're kind of expanding the whole kind of like file and use concept. Just kind of like get it in there so we know about it. See what you've got going on. We'll review it on the back end and come back to you if there's problems, right?
And I do think that's a huge piece.
Right.
Anything we enact, and this is important to me. From a public policy standpoint, because I've seen this over the 10 years, is a legislature puts in a law or they allow something or change it, but no one ever comes back and looks at it. And so anything we do, I think, needs to have like a 5-year period where you can come back and go, did it work or not?
Yep.
And then you can say, it didn't work, we'll get rid of it. Or it did work, we'll expand it. And we need to have more of a little bit harder data on that. And so if we did do something like put in some type of like PIP, if you could do personal injury protection for auto and try and see if it works and see what happens. But don't just leave it. You want to come back, make sure you're getting a result out of it.
Sure. Got it. You use the word innovation. Help me with your perspective of Oklahoma, given your experience in perhaps in other jurisdictions. What is the adoption of technology from your perspective like in Oklahoma? And I'm talking about everything from willingness to look at what carriers want to do to just reg tech, to like in terms of at the actual use of technology at the regulator. What's like your perspective, and then where does it need to go?
Well, number one, I think the department needs to embrace that.
Right.
And because we're going to need that to even the playing field. If our companies that we're regulating are using AI and these types of things, we need to be using it to help make us more efficient. I'm all about making the department better, faster, stronger, whatever it takes to make it more efficient and handle our jobs better. So that is number one, is to look into that. In general, I think we're a little slow on the innovation side.
Okay.
It just seems like most of the carriers are doing the same thing they've always done.
Right.
And I don't understand why we're not getting more innovative in that area. Now
Just in the industry?
Yeah, in general.
Okay.
In general.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we still selling things the same way as we have always done it? I'm looking to see more cutting edge stuff. And I would like to see Oklahoma to be that area where we can do more cutting edge and be up front versus waiting to see what someone else does and then doing it 10 years later.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that more here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was just talking to somebody about how the insurance contract hasn't changed in 100 years. I mean, it's a legit, it's essentially the same contract. Matter of fact, still I was looking at a homeowner at HO3 policy still talks about exclusion for tapes. It's like, who has tapes anymore? It's just like we have to actually write that into the policy, right?
Yeah.
And, so it's really fascinating. And then enter in now finally some new insurance contracts, some of which I think about for Oklahoma. And when I think about like parametric insurance and taking off in Florida, especially for when you start talking about high deductibles, I mean, is there room for those types of kind of new policy instruments here?
That's where I think we could really make again going back to the sandbox.
Right.
Let's try this stuff. Let's try the parametric. Let's try the stated value.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to pay $10,000 on your roof and that's it.
Right.
There's no fight.
Right.
There's nothing. You know exactly what you're getting. And
Right.
And disclosure and transparency is going to be huge in those types of situations because the consumer needs to know what they're getting. But I think they know more about what they're getting with that than they would another one. So I think those are all opportunities, or even peril exclusion. Mm-hmm. I saw a policy example. It broke down. The person was paying $8,000 for their premium on their home, 5% deductible, scheduled roof, so you depreciate the roof, and then they had it broke out by peril. Hail was $6,000 of that $8,000.
Whoa!
But they have 5% deductible scheduled roof,
Right.
which means that even if they got hit, they're basically getting nothing.
There's no coverage.
But the majority of their premium is for hail,
Right.
which is the roof, right? I mean, sure, there's fence, garage door maybe, but
the money's in the roof.
But it's all,
Yeah.
most of that should be going to the roof. So it's like, what am I paying for? Exactly. So, or reverse it. If the insurance company, the carrier, doesn't want it, because that, to me, my dad he had a restaurant, and he sold these sub sandwiches, and he started hating making them. He just hated it. So he priced them like ridiculous, right? So no one would buy them.
Right.
And if they did, it would made it worth his time.
Right.
They were like $10, $12 back in the 90s. It's ridiculous. So this is what it looks like to me. Mm-hmm. You're paying so much for something that you're getting nothing, no value for it.
Right.
So don't buy it. Okay, well, if that's the problem, then just exclude it. Mm-hmm. Exclude it. We're not going to pay for hail.
Yeah.
Here's the rest of the policy. It's
Exactly.
super cheap. It's like $1,000 or whatever it is. But that has to be very clear to the customer. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side of that, I know there's carriers that offer just that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Making room for that.
It's just there's not very much of it.
Right. Yep.
So it's kind of piecemealing this stuff together. Some carriers are okay with that risk, some are not.
Right.
So let's find a way to play together and get the customer taken care of. Or there's deductible insurance as well. I mean, it covers the gap.
That's right.
I've seen it in commercial, and I know it's out there for personal. It's starting to develop, right? So there's different things we can do that are in the market. We just got to kind of get more active on it.
That's right.
Have more conversations.
Take me, Chris, through. And I think I've asked you this question kind of in our pre-meeting here. Oklahoma's one of very few states that elects their commissioner.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to what is the process to engaging the electorate, in terms of like getting people to come out and vote or to care to know.
Yeah.
Who are you engaging? In your campaign to kind of talk about the issues and get them to come out and vote.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm engaging with business owners and people in the community. The insurance agents in the communities are, to me, they are the core of the voter because they're in insurance. Mm-hmm. And even some of them are like, we elect our insurance commissioner. They don't even know.
Right.
So it's been an education process. But to me, I think the insurance agent is very important because it's they're in every community. They're in every zip code, every county. They know what's going on in their communities, whether it's Woodward, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And you can get to them and find out what's going on, and what their customers and what the citizens there are feeling. So, I think those are, and, you usually go to your agent. Hey, there's an insurance commission on the ballot. What do I do?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think they're an important piece to that. And that's, one of the big things, once, if I take office, I'm going to have a council of agents. So just tell me what's going on in your community. I want you to come tell me. It's just so we can have that direct line of communication.
Yep. So you talk about agents. I wrote a piece, and if I'm being honest, I'm scared to publish it.
Okay.
And it's called "The Rise of the MGA: The Fall of the Carrier." And I have this vision, just looking at the data, that suggests that by 2030, we could have a situation where MGAs dominate the entirety of the insurance industry and carriers are subservient to the MGAs. You talk about the importance of the agent and controlling distribution. What is how have you been looking at MGAs, these delegated underwriting authority entities? How have you been looking at these guys? What's the lens that you're using, and what does that mean to you from a regulatory perspective if the MGAs are really amassing all of this influence, I'll say, in the industry?
Well, I think we just have to look at it and stay engaged on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't. It's hard to predict, the future or whatever. But if you're engaged, you can kind of see and tackle the problems one as they come up.
Right.
So it's to me, it's all about the consumer. I mean,
Right.
It's just what are they getting and how is that product being delivered to them.
It's interesting because in all of the conversations that I've had, Chris, no one's ever said that. No one's ever said, well, what is the impact on the consumer?
That's the whole thing.
It's fascinating that you said that.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's everything So my last 20 plus years, the model has always, it's stressed on us all the time.
Yeah.
It's customer centric.
That's right.
I'm going to bring that same thing to the department. In my head, I'm thinking, just step back one. It's customer centric.
Right.
With the insurance companies, the carrier, the agent, the roofer, the contractors, the body shops, they're all circling the Oklahoma citizen, the consumer. And my job, in my mind, is to find a way to make that less friction. I want the consumer has a role. They got to be educated. They make decisions, and so we can educate. But at the same time, I don't want, if there's a problem with the roofer and the insurance company, I don't think the consumer needs to be in it.
One of the things, Chris, that you point out here, and you're mentioning this customer, and I'm thinking about your experience on the industry side, and same as me, that customer first has been drilled into us, and I think that might be a unique value proposition you bring to the table as a regulator, is having that kind of pre-training. But I'm also hearing a desire to be much more proactive and really bringing the entire ecosystem together that I don't think I've ever heard before. Am I getting that right?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm commissioner,
right.
One of the things I want to bring to the table that maybe is not as apparent now is the advocate piece.
Yeah.
That's what I've done for 10 years, has been an advocate, industry advocate. And I go out, pushing, here's some legislative ideas we think would help, or, getting our agents together and saying, taking them to the legislature. We have these big conferences that have 500 agents.
Right.
We'd say, here's some bills that are, we think are bad, and here's some that are good. We educate them on it, and then we go over on a bus to the Capitol, and they visit with their legislator and tell them what we just, talked about, and give their, their perspective on it. And I want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just from you step back from the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but it doesn't always have to be a law. Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just best practice.
You don't have to change the law.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to have a law for everything.
Right.
We can get together in a room and figure this stuff out.
That's right.
And a lot of times at the legislature,
right,
when I was advocating for a law or someone else was, we would have a meeting, a senator or whoever would pull us and say, hey, come meet with the tow truck people. Come meet with the body shops. And let's talk. They're wanting to pass this law. Come talk. And we would figure it out. The notary deal.
Yeah.
That wasn't just go change the notary law.
Right.
That was, hey, let's go talk to the banks, credit unions, the automobile dealers,
Yeah.
and make sure we're all on the same page. And then, if we need the law changed, we'll change it. But we're already on the same page. We're not out there just like throwing laws around. You know, we're working together.
Yep.
So, from my point of view, is let's bring everything together. And I was talking about dehumanizing. And right now, there's a lot of the roofers are, the insurers are crooks. The roofers are crooks. Everyone's just saying that versus going, hey, this is Miguel, he's a roofer. This is Chris, he's an insurance guy. And then you meet and talk about the issues. And now all of a sudden, you've made it human.
Right.
We're just people trying to help the customer, because ultimately, most of the time, that's what it is. There's some bad players out there, but in general, we're all fighting for the same thing.
That's right.
And we just need to get on the same page. And you do that by getting together. And that's that collaboration piece.
You're scratching on this thing, Chris, that's been paining me lately because, insurance, this has been my life. That's my only career I've ever had has been in insurance. And I feel like the industry writ large has a really bad name. I mean, you don't read good articles in the paper about insurance anymore. I mean,
Right.
we've got a CEO that passed away as a result of kind of his imaging. And what can we do as an industry to change that paradigm? What can we do to kind of bring it back for us?
We've got to get more transparent.
Okay.
We've got to increase education on the customer and be more visible. A lot of times, what I see is we want to say the least amount and just go hide somewhere when there's bad press. And I think the department can be a good gap, bridge the gap on that. By one of the main missions of the department is to educate the consumer.
Yeah.
So let's get out there and get to explaining. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me how you can, an adjuster was worried because they denied a person's claim, and they didn't want to send them the survey because they're like, "Well, I denied their claim. They're going to beat me up, and it's going to ruin my score because I get all these great scores, and one bad one it tanks you." But they did the best they could of explaining this is why it's not covered. Also, here's where you can get coverage with your other insurance that you have on the side. I'm going to show you how to do it. They didn't have to do that. They can just be like, "You're denied, goodbye." Well, no. They said, "We can't pay for this, but here's how you can get help."
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. I mean, that's what we need to be doing as an industry.
That's right.
Is finding ways to help people. I mean, I had lots of opportunities like that. Like people that we couldn't get them their paperwork or something. I'd have an adjuster come drive to their house and drop it off or something. I worked in salvage too before that. So they totaled the car would go to the salvage yard, and my team was at the yard just selling the cars. That's all they did. But we would have people leave stuff in their car, and my guys would go take it to their house.
That's beautiful.
Didn't drop it off.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
We could have just been like, "No, I'm not dropping off your $100 bag or whatever. It's gone." No, they didn't do that.
Right.
We looked for ways to help people.
Yeah.
And I think if we change that will help a lot. But we got to, and that's part of one of the things I want to do is create like a dashboard, like a scoreboard. I'm just an athlete. I'm a football player. I love sports, and you got to see a scoreboard.
Yeah.
So if we really highlight complaints, if I'm getting complaints into the department, we can just say, "Here's how many complaints each one of these people have."
Right.
The problem is, most of these are going to be, they're not justified complaints.
Right.
It's not like they broke the law, so it's justified.
Right.
They're just, there's a problem, and they followed the law. You're not happy.
Right.
Well, I mean, it could be they didn't call them back. They were mean. They didn't help. Well, that goes on the scoreboard.
Right.
And you can complain all you want. Well, it's not justified. Well, make it go. Staff your people better. Train them better.
Right.
You can do things like that.
Yeah.
Because I know how it was in claims. If you got to justify, just any complaint that came in from the Department of Insurance was a problem. And it brought the top down coming over to your desk.
Right.
You didn't want those.
Right.
Even if they were, you did everything right, you still got a complaint. Well, how could we have not got that person so upset that they filed a complaint? So, I think it's a good way to apply, hold people accountable and hold the insurance companies accountable, and then maybe change the culture a little bit.
Right.
Inside.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I actually was having this conversation with somebody out in Florida because, Florida has had, as you would expect, this massive spike in complaints in the Department of Insurance after the hurricanes because of denied claims. And to your point, I'm wondering how the conversation would have ended if the claims representative from the carrier took the time to have the conversation with the insurer to say, hey, do me a favor, I'm going to email you your policy. You don't even have to look for it. I'm going to email your policy. Let me take you to page 3.2 and show you your claim is being denied because flood is not included, as opposed to just getting denied. Yeah. Right, and having that educating the customer, and here's what you can do in the future so that you can have coverage. Let me refer you to an NFIP agent, that type of thing. Like that seems to me like what you're hitting on is a missing link where the carrier can still do their job, still uphold the contract, but do so in a way where the customer is not feeling raw.
I mean, we were always trained to talk to our customers like it's your mom.
Yeah, I love that.
Treat them like, if you love your mom anyway. I love my mom. So it was easy for me to go, okay, I'm going to take care with each person.
That's right.
You get pressure because you're getting all these claims and production, you got to get these claims through and all this stuff. So, there's a balance there. But what you're talking about is exactly right. It's taking time to care about the person.
Yep.
I saw a letter in another state, and it was just a letter on, they had denied insuring the person. Mm-hmm. They were like, we're not going to underwrite you. You're too risky or whatever, right? But the letter said, we're not underwriting you because we're not underwriting you. It was something
just vague, right?
Just horrible. I'm just like, this is why we have a black eye.
Right.
We're just impersonal, and we're not taking care of people. We're just not caring.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to the coffee shop and the person's on their phone. They're just like, you come in, you're like standing there. They don't care. But a person who just greets you by your name,
right?
What can it do? How are you doing today? You make that connection. We're losing the connection.
Yeah.
That's why the agents are usually a little bit stronger in this because they have that still. But when you're dealing with a company and someone on the phone that's may not even be in your same state, you lose that.
Right.
It's harder to maintain. So I think we got to get better connection and to get the better service. That'll help.
Got it. So. Chris, this has been an amazing conversation. I'd love to end on this next topic here because we've been talking a lot about the business. We haven't talked about you.
Okay.
And so tell me a little bit about Chris Merideth and kind of the fabric of the man, if you will, and obviously that ties to why everyone should get why you should get their vote.
Yeah, that's deep. I had that thought on the way over as why am I here? How did I get here? And I was thinking back, and I went to college for biology, and I graduated. I had a lot of ups and downs in college, but I came out with a degree in biology, and I was working. My dad owned a pizzeria here in Oklahoma, and I worked there, and I was looking for a job. Year goes by, no one's hiring bachelor degree biologists. Imagine that. Yeah. And our insurance agent came in one day and was just come to visit, and she told us they were building this big claims super center over on the highway, and I should go check that out. And I was like, insurance? I don't want to work that. But I was desperate. I was so tired of being broke and making this. And my dad didn't pay me that good. He was a slave driver, man. But I went over and I checked it out, and I liked it. And at the same time, I was studying bioterrorism preparedness at the University of Oklahoma. We had just gone through 9/11, and everyone was freaked out over bioterrorism. Yep. And I kind of enjoyed viruses and stuff. I enjoyed studying them. I found them fascinating. But at the same time, I was broke, and I was just so tired of being a broke college student. So I got that job. I liked it, and I could see myself there, and I stayed. And and from there, I was a claims adjuster. I took over, we centralized our total loss unit, and so I started supervising that, and then I became a manager. I ran our Western United States and our total loss department there. I mean, we paid out over $1 billion a year in total losses, and then we recovered, because I moved over to salvage right from there. We recovered $300 million in just selling the junk, which is amazing. And then from there, it's kind of on that what do you want it to be trail. Yep. We were trying to figure out how to make our salvage better. We kept running the same problem. Government is the problem. And I mean, just California, I remember we had hundreds of cars just sinking in the mud. $3,000 a piece on average, these cars are sinking into the ground. Right. Assets. And that matters because the money coming back keeps premiums down because you're saving on cars. That's right. And you couldn't do it because we'd send people paperwork and they would miss the middle initial. We send it to DMV. DMV kicks it back. So you need the middle initial. And they're like, we already paid them, so the customer doesn't care.
Right.
They're not going to respond to us. We can't get the paperwork fixed. So it's just stuck. There was no way to get rid of it. And so we changed the law. Schwarzenegger signed the law to allow us to an alternative process to say, hey, we paid. Here's the proof. And now we could flip the titles, sell those cars.
Yep.
And so I would do that all across the country. And I just became like all over the country. I would go and find all these things that were just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And we get better faster. And then, that's kind of how I got into the government affairs side from there. But that's a lot of me. Career-wise, I don't know. I love development. Before that, I came out of high school, football player, blue chip. Went to the University of Oklahoma to play football.
Position.
Offensive line.
Okay.
Yeah. I was 300 pounds. I've lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
But, I quit. I just left in the middle of the night. I got involved with the kind of some bad people.
Sure.
And I just wanted to go hang out and have fun. And I ended up leaving. I ended up with like 4 or 5 Fs, a couple of Ws on my for a year transcript.
Yep.
It was horrible. And then I worked for General Motors for a little while in between there. And I realized I made a big mistake.
Yeah.
I was just like, all these older people were telling me, these guys were just kind of like, what are you doing? You don't want to do this forever. I was like, yeah, you're right. And I remember I was at my brother's high school football game, and my dad was sitting behind me. And somebody was talking to him. I don't know who it was, but they asked him what I was doing. Because why is he here? He's supposed to be down there at Norman, And everyone had high hopes for me. And he said, he's doing nothing. He's a bum. It hurt bad. But he was right. He was right. I was wasting my life. And kind of the final straw was the bombing. The Murrah building bombing was like the wake-up call of like, you're wasting your life, and all these people just lost theirs. And so I just became determined to go back. And I went to junior college, fixed my grades. I moved out, became a monk. I was the original ghost mode, back in like 95.
Yeah.
And I moved out, no cable, no TV, no phone. All I did was work and go to school and work out for a year. And then I got my first lobbying job because I lobbied my offensive line coach. I found him at a basketball game, brought him my transcript. I said, look, I fixed my grades. You can see I'm in shape.
Right.
Just give me one chance. And so he let me back on the team at OU. And, it was a horrible year. We went 3-8. It was like the worst year ever.
Yeah.
But, it was good to be back. And I was just like, okay, I'm not stopping though. What else can we do? If I stay, because in Division I, you lose a year, even if you're not in school, the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
So I had 1 more year left if I stayed, and I could get 3 years back if I went Division II. So I went to Northeastern State in Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Got my 3 years back, played there another 3 years. We ended up going to the Final Four. And, it was just a great experience. And, just continued to kind of put me on the path that I'm on now. And, it was just kind of that hit rock bottom and fight as hard as you can to get back.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that happened.
Yeah.
Because it changed who I am. I mean,
For sure.
and taught me so much.
Journey makes a man.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's awesome.
To me, a lot of this, from a personal standpoint, and at the core of the campaign of what this is about, is that principle of making what you want, right? It's being the change you want to be in the world.
Yeah.
We've heard that before. But it's really about the growth mindset and choosing that you can make what you want. You can become who you want to become.
Sure.
It's just a matter of deciding to go do it, believing you can do it, and choosing the hard path. Just like, you want to go climb a mountain, you want to go run a marathon, you got to go do the training.
Yeah.
And you got to go choose to push yourself to that extra mile and that extra level and go through the pain, go through the suffering, go through the discipline and the consistency to become who you want to become and change what you want to change. And to me, that's what this campaign really is about for me personally. I'm like out here.
Yep.
It's a campaign for myself as much as anything else.
Right.
because I see the change that I want to make. I see the change that I think Oklahoma needs. But I just want to prove to people that you can make a difference. One person can make a difference. And we can unite, and we can go make things happen.
Right.
Even in a difficult environment like Oklahoma with the weather.
Right.
All these things, challenges are meant to be tackled. Mm-hmm. And that's something I really believe in and something I want to push forward in this campaign. That's what kind of keeps me going every day, ultimately.
Amen. And your life story is a testament to that. So it's not just talk, man. That's your life.
That's where I learned it.
Exactly.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it's a decision of, I'm born this way. I'm born in this environment. Mm-hmm. We're poor.
Yeah.
We're, a race, whatever you want to think about.
Yep.
You can either use that as an excuse or a crutch, or you can use it to empower you and push you forward. Right. And that's really ultimately what I think about. I mean, I can go through tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Where I was, bullied and all these things, and I don't use that. I mean, I'm glad.
Right.
Because that empowered me.
Right.
I mean, you just got to use that as fuel.
That's right.
To push yourself to that next level.
My pastor said something very similar to that just this past Sunday. He's like, you're a product of your environment up to a point. Then you become a product of your decisions. Own it.
That's right.
And it was and I had all 4 of my kids with me, so I'm so glad. I'm like, heard that?
I'm glad you said own it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that because a lot of people, a big one for me with my kids is extreme ownership. Jocko Willink. Mm-hmm. I read his book, and it was so good, and it was so powerful because a lot of times people take it as everything is my fault. Mm-hmm. It's not that. It's more of everything is my responsibility to respond to.
Yes,
is what it is,
right.
And what that does when you take that on. It empowers you.
That's right.
Because now you have control. Like, you can't do everything, but, it's just like this. I can say, these high insurance prices are my fault. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not my fault, but they're my responsibility.
That's right.
And I can take it on and attack it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm viewing it.
Chris, this has been an amazing conversation, man. I can't thank you enough for making the time, man.
No, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Miguel.
And best of luck to you in your campaign.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.